Hi,
Hi,
mate.
Richard. Remind me why we're here.
Well, we thought it's about time we did some content, and we ate our own dog food. I know this is the least favorite thing that you enjoy doing, but we talk to our customers a lot about creating content for their websites that explains more about what they do. We've never done it. We've done something like 200 deck hacks for early stage SaaS businesses over the last 12 months. Sorry, last 3.5 years. And the same themes keep coming up, don't they? Every time we talk to these businesses, we talk about the same things. When we go and see our customers, we always start in the same place. And yet we've never written this down. We've never recorded it. We've never created content. I think it's about time we did, don't you?
Yeah, no, agreed. Yeah, I guess there's some common themes with what we talk about pretty much all day long.
Yeah.
So maybe we should start at the beginning.
Yeah.
And maybe why don't I ask you the question? And it really pertains to the value proposition.
Mm.
So we see people write down their value proposition, articulate the value proposition early on when founders are together and they're innovating and looking to change the world. But the world doesn't stay still. So why do you think it's important that this is reviewed on a regular basis?
Yeah. Reconfirming your value proposition is the starting point of every engagement that we have, isn't it? It's the first place we start with customers when we're with them. And it's important because, when was the last time you did it? This might have been done, when you were founders, when you were first starting out. Maybe two or three of you sat in a room and said, "We've spotted this problem." You've either seen it internally from a business and thought, "My business has this problem. I'm going to build a solution. I'm then going to build a SaaS business. I'm then going to go back and sell my solution to that company." Or sometimes people have spotted it from outside and they've decided to create some kind of solution that addresses a pain that they've seen from outside an organization. It doesn't matter really. The point is that reconfirming your value proposition is something that businesses don't do often enough. It's something that we think businesses should do at least twice a year, if not more regularly than that, because we have to check in with our customers and ensure that the problem that we thought we were solving or that we solved from the get-go, from the launch of the business, is still relevant, is still important, is still hitting the right buttons, and is still solving the pain that we believed that it did. So reconfirming the value proposition is something that we think is absolutely central and a very good starting point for any business that's thinking, we've got a bit stuck, we want to go a bit faster, something's not going right, we haven't spoken to our customers recently. This is a great way of doing it.
And I guess it's in the context of how you speak to your customers with
And
what
how
outcomes, rather than, we often spend our time speaking to our customers because we want to sell to them, or we want them to renew, or we want to, whatever it might be. It's often commercial, right? But yeah, I mean, I think of the experiences that we've had over the last 20 odd years in, having an initial hypothesis, getting great traction, and then it starts to feel maybe like you're cycling uphill somewhat. And that, I guess that's environmental changes. You get competitors come in, the environment changes, the economic environment changes, people change in your business. Things that you thought to be true become untrue. So where do you think is the best place to start, and who should be involved?
Yeah, I mean, just adding to the point you just made, we've just gone through, the biggest change that the world has ever seen since the Second World War, with a pandemic. More people are working from home, more people are hybrid. Situations change. And the reason why we retest our thesis, we reconfirm our value prop, is to make sure nothing's changed. But the place to start, and the place we always start, is internally, is with your own people, your own team. And we've had experience of this, haven't we? Where the founders think that they've got a thesis. The founders think that they're solving a particular pain. Sales are projecting something different or saying something different. Marketing might well be saying something different on their website. Product, the people that build it or are designing it, see another set of value in it. and the tech team see another set of values in it. So the starting point is to get everybody in the organization round a table in a room with a whiteboard and a brand new set of multicolored pens. Sit everybody down and just say, right, we're gonna test our value prop here. I want to make sure that everybody on our side of the table is absolutely aligned and clear about where the value is. And in a later video, we'll talk about how we then go and test that to make sure that we've got that absolutely right. But the starting point is to get your own team around the table, get some pens out. Sometimes easier to get someone to facilitate this externally than it is to do it internally. You need to make sure everyone's voice is heard. So sometimes that's where we start, but get everybody in a room with a job of saying, I want to check internally that we're all aligned.
I think that's right. And what we've found is, as you say, obviously it's not everyone in the company, but it's people that represent every part of the company. Yeah. And some people will have loud voices. Yeah. You know, often they're in sales. Yeah. And other people will have quiet voices, but everyone needs to be heard. And I guess what we found in time is that it's the people closest to the customer that have a very significant amount to give. Yeah. You know, people are in customer success, people are on support, people who are in the product area, let's say, and in sales, who are speaking directly to the customers all day long. They should definitely be involved. So owned by the founder, owned by the CEO, because you know, lead from the front. And you know, we always say that the best founders are those that are obsessed with customer pain. Yeah, that's all they obsess about is customer pain. So okay, so we've got a cross-functional group.
And I think it's also important to add that would it not be true that some of the best insight we've had on the customers that we've worked with, you know, in great depth, has come from not the most obvious people that you would think it would come from. Very often the quiet voices, the thoughtful voices, the introverts. So the rules of the game are, number one, everybody must be heard. Everybody must feed into this. Everybody must confirm at the end of the day that they put their name to this and everyone's, you know, in agreement. The second rule of the game is, do not get obsessed about the one outlying customer who's got a particular set of needs that are different from everybody else. You know, think of a customer that's the middle of the dartboard, your ideal customer, where most of your customers go, and don't get caught in the long grass by, oh, I've got this customer who ... and takes you off into the weeds.
Or we tried it once before and it didn't work.
Yes, exactly. And no idea is too stupid, right? No idea in this room is too stupid.
And you want to have the contrarian thinkers in the room as well. Much as it might be painful. But they need to be heard.
There should be a level of creative difference. You know, there should be a level of creative energy in the room where different people are disagreeing on one thing or another. We've spent weeks in meetings haven't we, with people across the business who fundamentally disagree on what the value proposition is, or who the buying persona is, or what the pain is. And that's why testing this is incredibly important. We won't have time to cover the testing bit today, but for now, make sure everybody in the room is heard.
Okay, so we're going to get an output from the internal exercise. We're going to go and test in the market with customers and prospects. Okay, great. So how are we going to get from A to B? B being we've got a pain statement that we can go and test, or a problem statement, I should say, that we can go and test.
Yeah, I mean, there are numbers of ways of doing this. You can write a list, but what we're obsessing about here is customer pain, visceral customer pain. In my opinion, in our opinion, a picture paints 1,000 words. So rather than write 1,000 words, why don't we create a picture? And we thought, for the benefit of this video, that it would be useful to show you an example of an output. So what you get at the end of the process, and we'll talk you through how that visualization grows. But it starts off with someone standing up at a board, someone with a pen in their hand, and let's share now an example.
Just before we do that, Rich, what are we putting on the board? Who is it? You know, where who's at the center of this?
Okay, so the starting point of all of this, and in a circle, you should write the the name of or the job title of your buying persona, whoever you believe is the person. And we'll do another video on buying personas and establishing who the buying persona is. But for now, you'll have a fairly clear idea about who your buying persona is. And right in the center of that circle, you should put the CFO, the CEO, the HR director, whoever it is that you're selling to is the persona that goes in the middle of the board.
What about other people?
Yeah, on the left-hand side of the screen, we think it's a great place to put all the internal actors within your customer's organization. So if it was CFO, that could be the finance team, or that could be an audit team. It could be the sales team, the marketing team, whoever they're interacting with all the time. If it's about invoice approval, then inevitably it's going to have some kind of sales element because an invoice is coming in, it's got to go out. So who are all the people internally that are affected by the process that you solve? And then on the right-hand side of the screen, I don't know if this is left or right, but on the right-hand side of the screen, you're putting all of your external actors. So these are people outside the business that this process flow interacts with. So it could be customers, it could be regulators, it could be law firm, it could be your actuaries or your accountants or whatever. But draw around that buying persona, their world, and look at their world through the eyes of that buying persona. Sit in the middle and look out at the process and how it's going right and it's going wrong. And then the key is to draw in that process from the internal actors through your buying persona out to the external actors on multiple levels. So how does this flow work? And then add in, where does it break down? What are the challenges? Where's the friction? Where are the spreadsheets? Where are the emails? Where does Excel come in here? Because it always comes in here somewhere. And this image is supposed to look a mess because it's a problem, right? It's not a beautiful image you're creating, and it should build when you create it in a PowerPoint slide, as you can show the flow building. But at the end of this statement, you're hoping when we come to test your thesis on buying personas and others, that they sit back in their chair and go, "Wow, that's it.
Yeah,
this is horrible." I'm reminded of it.
Or even better, they go, "Yeah, you've captured it, but actually it's even worse. You've forgot to do this, and actually it impacts over here. And the cost to doing this is not just financial, but it's embarrassment factor for me," or whatever that might be. So I think, as you say, this is the starting point, and it gets better.
Yeah, and iterates.
More problematic. Your problem statement becomes more problematic when you go and test it.
Yeah, and the gold will exist in those little pieces that I'll come back to you and say, "Well, yeah, I can see what you've done over here, and that's kind of annoying, but we live with it and whatever." I said, "Our real pain is actually this. So if you have a problem that solution that can solve this problem, blimey, that's our real pain." I've got 3 people in my team who spend 4 days a month plowing through Excel spreadsheets and invoices and paper and emails, and I cannot sit in another one-to-one meeting with them while they complain about this process. That's where my real pain is, and that's very often the sort of golden light bulb moment where you go, "Great, okay, I've captured that." And again, when we come to test it, we'll keep adding to the slide and adding in more people's feedback.
I think it's also worth saying that when we have tested it in the past, we have had another answer, which is, "Yeah, but we manage it fine.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's not so painful that we're going to create a budget for it." And that's gold dust as well, right? Because that allows you then to decide what to do next.
Yeah, I mean, it's disheartening, isn't it? We've done it, and you think, "Oh, blimey!"
But it doesn't.
Were true, aren't true.
It would be a reason why maybe sales aren't performing quite as you'd like them to. So let's deal with the reality, and evolve from there.
Yeah, I mean, why go and spend hundreds of thousands of pounds on marketing if you're getting feedback from your customers down the line that this isn't? It is painful, but it's not painful enough to upend the business to change it. And that's when you've got to go back to the drawing board and start again and find out, what really hurts.
And we've been there ourselves.
Yeah.
And pivoted as a consequence.
Yeah, absolutely. That's clever. Yeah. But you'd rather know, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I guess the thing that, looking back, we wish we'd known sooner.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's the reason why, and that's why we create these pain statements to verify that what we're saying is true and painful.
Yeah. So in the ones that we've produced or worked with our clients to produce, tell a story, because obviously when you're going to go and speak to your customers and your prospects,
Yeah.
you don't want to just give them a statement and say, does that resonate with you? You want to take them on a story. This is what we believe to be true. This is how we understand your situation. These are the people that we understand that you interact with internally and externally.
Yeah.
And it builds, and so you're taking them on that journey to the point where you go, da-da, is this what your world looks like? And they go, blimey, it really does.
Yeah.
Or actually, it's a bit worse than that here, and it's a bit better than that here. So then we can iterate our pain slide or our problem statement as we go. I think the example that we did in the property market is slightly different in that you don't have the internal actors and the external actors are different, but the real pain that was needed to be overcome by the business, the buyer, was all of their interactions with their end customer, which was the consumer.
Yes. Yeah. Sure, look at that.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So this was the pain slide that we created for these guys. And we can very quickly show you the other pain slide as well within this presentation. But in this pain slide, or this pain statement, you can see on the top left-hand side, we started looking at the world from a home seeker's point of view. So these guys were in the affordable housing space, shared ownership, that kind of thing. So we put ourselves in the viewpoint of someone who is buying a home, and in the bottom right-hand corner, we put ourselves through the eyes, looked at the world through the eyes of someone who's selling a home. And this ultimate drawing probably took us 6 months to create, because we were kept on changing it, testing it, and adding to it until we got to this point, which when we presented it to our customers, they went, "Yeah, that's absolutely it. You've nailed it." So we obviously won't go through this, but just visually, right? It's a mess. There is in the red circles at the top left, this is what a home seeker's thinking. Where do I start? There's no single place for me to go and look at shared ownership homes. I'm confused. I'm slightly demeaned. I'm being asked to fill out the same information over and over again. And in the bottom right-hand corner, you've got the housing provider who's saying, look, we have to sell these homes. It's mission critical to the organization, but we've got dozens of places we've got to advertise them, and different types of properties that we have to. They've all got different names, different rules, different eligibility. And across the image, these two worlds come to collide. And it ends up being a whole world of mess, emails, a web of intricacy, information flying backwards and forwards, left, right, and center. Forms being sent across to IFAs and to lawyers and back down to the housing provider. So this is an example of a pain slide drawn where you've got two separate actors involved in it, a buyer and a seller, and it did a fantastic job of certainly explaining to our buying personas, who were the people in the housing provider world, what a mess it was. And their response was visceral. They literally sat back in their chairs and went, "That's it. You've got it. That's the world we live in. That's the pain we have." And that's really exciting when you get to that point, because now you've had your pain confirmed. You now know that your challenge moves away from have I got the right arrow in my bow to how many times can I fire this arrow and who am I going to land it on?
Yeah. I would say, just to add, I know you said it took about 6 months, but I think that was end-to-end process, right? That was from the internal process, the testing it, the improving it with customer feedback. So this was the final version based on all of the interactions with customers and prospects.
Absolutely. And you can go far, far quicker than that. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
And a further example of it would be this one, which is what we described in the first instance. Sorry, it hasn't rendered very well, but I think you kind of get the point, where the team have drawn, their buying persona in the middle. On the left-hand side of the screen, they've got in all the internal actors who are actually in blue circles. So the SMT, the compliance team, the commercial team, the legal ops team, all those people involved. And then on the right-hand side of the screen, they've drawn all the external actors that this guy has got to interact with. So could be investors, could be auditors, could be suppliers, could be customers, could be, every single one of these diagrams is different, right? Because every organization has a different set of challenges. But here you can see the different interactions that are going on. The tiny little gray circles are emails, PDFs, pain, slowness, and process. And one other thing that I would bring to light here is the red arrows isolate the personal pain, the real deep personal friction, the frustration, the embarrassment, the annoyance with the way the process is being run. And we wanted to draw those out of the slide to say, are these the bits that hurt really the most in this process, or is there something else? But at this stage, remember, this is just your internal team writing up all the internal actors they see in their customers, the external actors they see involved, and getting this process flow correct. So you have a visual pain statement which summarizes the problems and the challenges that the business is feeling. Layered over that is any personal pain they're feeling, so that we have a visual map of the challenges your customers are facing.
I think that personal point you make is really, really important, and we're going to cover that in the next video.
Yeah.
But people, when a process is broken, it's not just the impact on the business in productivity and efficiency and all that stuff. It affects people personally.
Yeah.
It creates embarrassment. It creates workload, repetitive task. And people will buy software for all sorts of personal reasons as well as business reasons. People will buy software to make the lives of their people better, 100%. Or to get their people working on higher value tasks. So if we don't layer over the personal aspect to this, the human aspect to this, we're missing a trick.
Absolutely.
So that's going to be the topic, I guess, for the next video.
Yeah. Pain needs to be visceral, right? It needs to be, right at the top of Maslow's hierarchy of need. And as you say, we'll do this in the next video. The difference between highly successful business software and other software that is sort of starting, as you say, to cycle uphill, is that the highly successful software solves something very, very painful for their customer, and or something that provides a fantastic solution to their organization, which plays to the ambition and the desires of your buying persona. They want to do well. They want to go to the next board meeting and saying, that thing that was broken, I fixed it, and here it is, and here it goes. And that's why that personal pain element is so important. And we've actually played back our pain slides to our customers, which is going to be a future step in this journey. And they've sat there rather bored through the presentation. And at the end, they've said, if you could stop my legal team and my finance team from fighting and having a difficult meeting every single month and every single quarter that both parties dread going to, I will buy your software. And that was the most valuable piece of feedback, because the software could do that. And it just meant that when we came to actually present our solution, we could majorly dial up the bit that hurt them the most and have the rest of it as just convincers in the bag, other things that you get whilst buying this product. So that'll be the next video, personal pain, why making it so personal is important. And indeed, we'll add into the second video, who else in the organization can we include in this pain process, this pain statement process? Are there other C and D suite members of the board who also benefit from the change that you're making in this one department? Because at some point this is going to come to a vote, and we'd like more than just one hand going up when they say, shall we buy this software or not?
Yeah.
But we'll do that in the next video.
Excellent. So create a pain statement, do it visually, make sure that every part of the organization is represented.
Yeah.
Everyone has a voice, even the contrarian thinkers that might be painful at times.
Yeah.
Do it in a safe place. No comment or idea is daft.
No.
Nor does history dictate your future.
Yeah.
If it didn't work in the past, it doesn't mean it won't work in the future.
Yeah.
And then we'll overlay next time the human element to it. Absolutely.
Get someone in the organization to take your photograph, the whiteboard, build it into a really rough and ready PowerPoint slide. It doesn't need to look beautiful. It's supposed to be rough and ready. It's supposed to be a mess. But at the end of that meeting, and you might need a couple of meetings, but at the end of that process, you have a value proposition that everybody in your organization believes to be true, has captured all the major pain points in that process, the business pain points in that process, and that's your V1. And as you say, the next video will overlay personal pain and cross-departmental pain, which is really a kind of hidden trick which can add huge value to your statement.
Excellent.